Thank you, Hilary. I joined a little bit earlier, so I've heard that there's been a few comments already on some of the things that Hillary's whacking through my slides. Sorry. So I've heard that you've already had a bit of a discussion around low traffic neighbourhoods, which was pretty much the cornerstone of our approach in Waltham Forest with Mini Holland. Next slide, please, Hilary. Thank you. So this is the London Borough of Waltham Forest. It's a northeast London borough, and I appreciate this is not Devon. This is inner London, in the south, Leytonstone, Leyton and Walthamstow, and in the north, kind of more suburban Chingford. So yeah, I definitely get that it's not Devon, but I certainly believe that some of the approaches that we've taken could well be amended, adopted in some of your urban areas in Devon, and maybe even some of your more rural areas. So I'm not saying this is a blueprint for you to follow, but hopefully it will stimulate some ideas and some different approaches. Next, please, Hilary. So we were the forerunner of low traffic neighbourhoods. We called them villages at that particular time. And this is where we identified a cell of residential roads that had boundary roads all the way around it, but was being heavily used through non-local traffic to avoid the traffic infrastructure on our main roads that were designed to control and manage large volumes of traffic. So we proposed in our first village, which then became a livable neighbourhood and then has now become a low traffic neighbourhood, a number of what we call modal filters, and that prevents through traffic from using the residential streets as a rat run, a through route, but preserves access to all properties for people who live in those roads. And as you appreciate, Waltham Forest is largely, its road network, its residential network is largely, predates the Victorian era, and therefore cars full stop, never mind mass car ownership. We're a council like many others that's had to take huge amounts of money out of social care and other areas of council provision over many years as a consequence of government cuts and such like. We've never had a demonstration on our town hall steps during all that time. Proposed closing 40 roads in our Walthamstow area to rat running, non-local traffic. We had the biggest demonstrations in the borough's 50-year history. That's me confronting some of the demonstrators on the day that we opened the Walthamstow village, and in London we do like to roll out a prop. In this case, the demonstrators rolled out a coffin to demonstrate the death of the particular town centre, Orford Road, in this particular low traffic neighbourhood. Next, please, Hilary. And this is what Orford Road now looks like. It's timed closure, so from 10 in the morning to 10 at night, no traffic other than the hopper bus, ambulances, emergency vehicles, cyclists and pedestrians can use the road to go through. And it's transformed this former very rundown shopping parade into one of North London's major destinations for kind of weekend and evening leisure time. And in the summer, in the spring, this area is absolutely rammed now. And it's also one of the main kind of routes to a number of primary schools and secondary schools. And what we're seeing now is the parents aren't driving their children to school anymore. They're walking, and they're allowing their children to micro scoot or cycle to school, and they cycle alongside them. This is what this is about. It's about getting people out of their short car-based journeys locally and ensuring non-local through traffic is on the roads that are designed to take that amount of traffic. That's what low traffic neighbourhoods are all about. And in Waltham Forest, they've proven to be very successful. But the change does not happen overnight. And anyone that would expect to see dramatic change within a couple of months, 6 months, 12 months, a year, clearly does not understand that you cannot unpick 40, 50 years of people's behaviours overnight. You've got to give it a couple of years to bed in, and for some of the other measures, the complementary measures, to start having an impact also. Next slide, please, Hilary. Thank you. And these are just some of the figures of the amount of through traffic that we're going through. Residential roads, I draw your particular attention to Copeland Road. Copeland Road only has around about 60 properties in it. It's a very short residential terrace street, yet every day it was having 2,625 vehicle movements going along it. You know, that's a huge amount of rat running, and that traffic was bypassing traffic lights and roundabouts to get to their destinations. By putting in a modal filter that prevents that through traffic, all of a sudden, you know, that road is now firmly preserved for the people who live in it, and it has transformed that road. It is now a road where community cohesion, community resilience, people play, all of those things are so much more thought of. You can hear the birds singing in the trees and such like. Next slide, please, Hilary. Francis Road, another similar. This is the first B road in the country that's had a timed closure installed on it, and the shopkeepers, residents, visitors the area. Again, another major destination now in North London, and this was a really run down, largely redundant shopping parade that's been totally revived. It literally had an off license, a couple of hairdressers, and a dry cleaners on it. We now have an independent record shop, an independent bookshop. We have gift shops, we have bars, we have restaurants. I mean, it has totally transformed, and everyone is behind this, and a really, really popular location. Next slide, please. And this is how we used to treat pedestrians in Waltham Forest and cyclists. In that bottom picture where you can see the back of a gentleman's head, you can just see a couple of pedestrians and a cyclist there, you know, competing for a tiny amount of active travel space and priority. And then you can see how we've now transformed it. That bottom picture with the cyclist there, that's now the dedicated space. That's the exact same position where we've widened the pavement, created dedicated segregated cycle track. We still have two-way traffic going across there, that bridge as well, but that's how we like to prioritize active travelers. And if you build the infrastructure, then they will come. People will walk more, they will cycle more if they know the infrastructure's there, it's safe for them, and you're prioritizing them. Next slide, please, Hilary. That's just what we do before all of our schemes. We do a perception survey asking people what they think. And of course, time and time again, what it proves is that businesses over prioritize the need for parking, over prioritize how they think people come to their town centres and their shops, when increasingly more and more people arrive by foot, more and more people arrive by public transport, more and more people arrive by bike. And there's a huge amount now of evidence says that if you prioritise pedestrians in a town centre or shopping area over the needs of vehicle access and parking, then people will spend more in that area over the course of a month, over a course of a year, than if they drive there. Next, please. We've introduced school streets. These are time closures on certain roads at the start of the school day and at the end of the school day. Again, a huge transformational impact. 17% of all vehicles on the road in the AM peak in Waltham Forest is short-based school journeys. No one lives more than 2 kilometres away from their local primary school, and that's a journey that can be easily walked or cycled in London, but it was just astonishing how many people drove. And by reducing the amount of access to the roads that the schools are on and around those schools, we're slowly seeing more and more people walking to school every day, more and more children micro-scooting and cycling to school every day. Next slide, please. And then when you start to take away the parking spaces, and we've taken some 1,000 parking spaces away, literally in 2019 alone, you create spaces for biodiversity, you create spaces for pocket parks, you create spaces for meadows. So you're really, really hitting not just benefits for active travel and health, the environment, air quality, but also biodiversity as well. And these then become places where people can talk, neighbours can come to talk, places that you can have street parties on, you know, really, really successful for community cohesion. Next, please, Hilary. This is a major piece of infrastructure. This is a roundabout that we've now transformed into a major T-junction with pedestrian and cyclist priority, but it also meant we handed back 1,800 square metres of road space tarmac space back to the ancient woodland of Epping Forest that borders Waltham Forest. That's the first time in 50 years the council has actually handed land back to the forest for forest use rather than take it for road expansion space. You know, and planted loads of trees at this site now and lots of sustainable urban drainage systems as well. Next, please, Hilary. Just a quick overview of some of the things that we've done. We've got 550 cycle hangers that we've installed, 50 new pocket parks, loads of improved pedestrians, crossings, you know, again on our main roads, prioritising pedestrians on them so that they can cross the road where they want to cross the road rather than where it's convenient for vehicles to allow pedestrians to cross the road. Next slide, please. Complementary measures, we've invested lots into cycle training and bike maintenance, you know, for young people, for old people, for people with different abilities, all free, and it's a constant program. Next slide, please, Hilary. We have a huge fleet of free bikes, all shapes and sizes to lend out, including a huge range of traditional cargo bikes and e-cargo bikes that families and businesses can try before they buy. Next slide, please, Hilary. And there's some of our parking measures. All of our main stations now have cycle hubs in with CCTV cameras and tool stations, very, very secure panic alarms as well. And the green kind of bread bin looking things. We have 550 of those now in Waltham Forest. That's the most of any local authority in the UK. You know, and they take up a parking space in a residential street. This is unlocking people's ability to be able to consider cycling as a reality for their day-to-day lives, not just for work and commuting, but for leisure and pleasure as well. Next slide, please, Hilary. There you go. Thank you. Just a quick rattle through.